Is Jide, and this is Genome. The main purpose of this project is to find companies at the forefront of innovation. In particular, we're going to find companies at the forefront of genetic engineering. And we're going to use patent and patent applications as a metric for innovation. So you're at the forefront of innovation, then you're at the forefront of some type of metric based on patent applications. The reason I'm focused on genetic engineering is because it's going to be big. I looked at over 500 patent applications by hand, and like a couple things jump out to me. Microsoft is trying to store data in DNA. They have patent applications for that. Raytheon, the defense company, has actually made a layered circuit out of genetic material. And if you follow the news, there are CRISPR babies. So just like the Industrial Revolution, which was started by basically electricity, or before that, steam, or the dot-com boom, which like was just like the big computer stuff, I think genetic engineering is going to be really, really big. Like one day, I might have a computer made out of genetic material. So to get data, I went to patentview.com, had to read an API. It's really hard to read. And you have to do a really, really brief, terse overview of patents. They're not easy to read, so I spent a lot of time doing that. And I spent a lot of time making an API, but I made like the API wrapper, and it's here. And basically, it pulls data from patentview.com. Uh, there's another function in this API wrapper that cleans the JSON data and makes it into a pandas data frame. That took a long time. And there's another wrapper that takes the 500 patents I looked at, puts them in a legitimate query, sends it off to API, and they're all built in one suite. Uh, so that's about it. We focus on claims data, and we want to get the text of this claims data and use natural language processing on it. So there's some filters that I don't have time to talk about. Here's a crosstab. I try to filter it as much as possible to actually get chemistry, drugs, and possibly other companies, but the filter literally couldn't filter out mechanical or electric or computer and communication. And honestly, that's expected because of the short thing I said about Microsoft and Raytheon. Like, people are using this techniques, gene editing techniques, and it's not localized to biotech. And that's where the opportunity is. So for feature selection, I do the ngram model, and I use the part of speech tagger. Ngram is like bag of words, except instead of just looking at one word, you look at sequence of words. Part of speech tagger like reads speech and assigns like a noun or adjective to it, and then it's kind of like ngram, like a 2 ngram, except there's like a part of speech in there. And then after I do that, I get my sparse matrix, and I have to reduce it. So I use k-means, but there's other ways. I think Watt talks about some non-negative matrix factorization for dimension reduction. But for now, we'll use k-means. There's two ways I use to find an optimal cluster, and it's the silhouette method and the elbow method. Here, the elbow method, you look for a kink in like the average distortion. There's no kink, useless. Silhouette method, you look for like a spike, and you find like the cluster that gives you the highest spike. This is basically linear, useless. So that was hard. So like for the future, I'm obviously going to try to merge the data I have with stock data and actually make predictions off of it. I want to find a more precise way of like extracting the companies I want from patent view, and you can do that with like a graph search algorithm. So you look at patents, and the edges are like the patents that cited this patent, or actually the patents in this subgroup, and you keep walking around. Look for a better bag of words model, incorporate a matrix factorization, dimension reduction, and general UI changes. So yeah, that's basically it. And I talked about like the troubles, and I talked about the future direction. I do want to use 2sigma's data set and merge the results I had by analyzing the claims of patent data, and then you look at news media releases, analyze the news media releases, and look at the divergence between the sentiment in that, and see if I can make some short-term predictions. But for now, if you look at patent data, like a patent is a patent application. Like it's kind of like forward looking. So like any type of prediction I make off of patent applications is going to be kind of medium to the long term. The newspaper thing is going to be like short term, and then I want to move on to clinical data and possibly other scientific mediums, and just keep analyze them with this parser and see if I can like get some results. And so that's basically it in the shortest possible time.